What's up, y'all? Welcome to my ramblings. It's Monday, July 22nd. And this is going to be about the UFC. So if you don't like the UFC, then maybe this isn't for you right now. And here we go. So this guy, Leon Edwards, fought a gentleman named Rafael Dos Anjos, RDA. Now, prior to this fight, I picked Leon Edwards to win because Leon Edwards is a very sound fighter. Now where we have to go is back 100 days. There was a fighter who viciously knocked out a title contender. And after the fight, he was being interviewed on national TV, one of the biggest, actually the biggest sports network in all of the states, ESPN. While this gentleman, Jorge, is getting interviewed, another fighter walks by and tries to get his name out there on TV. So my first question is, if someone's being interviewed on TV, why are you going to walk by and try to chastise that person? That seems ridiculous and disrespectful. It's my man's first time on ESPN being interviewed, and as you walk by, you're trying to get some fame. If they wanted to interview you, they would have walked up to interview you, Leon Edwards. They didn't want to interview you. So you tried to steal Jorge Masvidal's shine. All right? So while Leon walks by George, while George is getting interviewed, he says some slick shit out of his mouth. So Jorge says, maybe, I don't know, in response to whatever Leon Edwards says. And then he tries to go back to his interview and Leon says something else. And Jorge says, well, then say it to my face. Leon Edwards inaudibly mutters something off of the screen. So Jorge walks up to him, punches him 3 times, and leaves. Couple things here. Number 1, you got punched 3 or 4 times in the face. Number 2, why were you so rudely trying to get some clout? Why were you trying to get clout off another man's win? That's some non-masculine shit right there. And forget non-masculine activities. That's just not a stand-up move. Anyways, to the best of my knowledge, this guy Leon got a little publicity off of this. Well, really what they did was they interviewed Jorge Masvidal, and it was hilarious because dude talks shit and he got fucking punched in the face. But the dude who got punched in the face, this guy Leon Edwards who got punched in the face, was like threatening to call the cops. Which, I mean, like, if that's what you're going to do, that's what you're going to do. Fine. Let's fast forward to this past weekend. Leon Edwards wins his fight. And then he calls out Jorge Masvidal. And then he says he will fight Jorge inside of the ring or outside of the ring. So this obviously poses a very good question. If you wanted to fight him outside of the ring, why didn't you DM him? Like, legit. You could have went on Instagram or Twitter or whatever and DM'd him, screenshotted that shit, and showed that he didn't respond to you, and then there we go. But you didn't do that. You accused him of being a thug and lawless for punching you, and then 100 days later, you're trying to get more fame off this guy. It's just, in the 90s, we would have said that's a feminine move. People get upset by that shit now, but that's what they would have said back in the day. And I'll reiterate, I picked Leon Edwards to beat Rafael Dos Anjos, who I'm a big fan of. But Leon, just because you fought 3 rounds and won a decision against a guy who I unfortunately almost consider a gatekeeper at this point, okay, that guy's a barometer of whether you belong in the division. All right, Leon? The other half of that is this. Jorge Masvidal knocked out 2 title contenders. One of them, the first guy, had just fought for the championship, and he knocked him out cold. That guy was out for about 2 minutes. Then he fights a guy who's 19-0, has never lost. Fast track to the title. He gets in there, knocks him out in 5 seconds. The world record. 5 seconds. And that guy was out for about 4 fucking minutes. They brought the stretcher up, but the dude's ego wouldn't let him go out on the stretcher. So you guys tell me, does this guy Leon, who I now think is a hypocrite, before I was like, you know what? Dude got punched, whatever. If after the fight he would have said, hey, me and this dude had a conflict, he sucker punched me, I want to run it, I would have respect for that. But to say you would fight in or outside of the octagon, bro, I just, as a human being, have lost respect for you because I do not believe you. I don't believe it. What, you sat on it for 3 or 4 months, and now you're all up in your feelings, trying to get some publicity off this guy again? That's why you got punched in the face to begin with. What do you guys think? I mean, it's... Leon Edwards, don't interrupt people while they're doing interviews. Don't get punched in the face, then threaten to call the cops because you shouldn't be getting punched outside of the professional environment. And then 100 days later, you're like, I'd fight him outside of the octagon. That shit's so fugazi, bro. And you get zero support from me. And I still think you're a good fighter, but you get zero support. Why don't you fight Darren Till? Why don't you fight Ben Askren? Why don't you fight someone who's a contender, not the barometer of whether you belong in a division? Even when I'm outside, I'm in the building. Peace.